everyone. My name is Jared. I am a Senior System Specialist with Unique HR. I'd like to welcome you all to this session of webinar training for the new portal. We're very excited to have you join us today. The new portal will be launching in spring of 2024, and we will be announcing an official go-live date in the upcoming weeks. Today's webinar session will be focused on a high-level overview of the employee portal. This webinar will be a bit shorter than the 30 minutes that we have scheduled, as the employee portal is much simpler than the client level view you have seen in past trainings. However, we did feel it was important to show you the side as well so that you can understand what your employees will be seeing and interacting with. I'd like to remind you that this webinar, along with future webinars, will be recorded and available for review at a later date. We do have some recordings already available to you online. If you are interested in viewing these past recordings, please reach out to the Client Relations team email, which is clientrelations@uniquehr.com. They will be able to provide you with a direct link and the password needed to access these recordings. During today's session, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature. We will have a moderator who reviews and responds back to your messages. If our moderator cannot answer everything today, we will be sure to follow up with you afterwards via email. If you think of any additional questions after the webinar is over, please reach out again to clientrelations@uniquehr.com. With that, let's go ahead and jump into today's session on the employee portal view. And to start things off, they will, of course, need to log in just like you would as a client. The portal is the same. So instead of entering client information here, they will be entering employee information. It's just the username and password, similar to what you would do. And then they would select login. I've actually already logged in as the employee, and I have it here in the background. That way I don't have to wait for the email verification to come through. So here on the dashboard, you can see it is similar to what you would see as a client, but it does have a few differences. All of the navigation will still be done on the left-hand menu here, very, very similar to what you would see. You can still expand the arrows for different sections here, but they do have several options here and what we call widgets for clients. Each one of these sections can take you to a different part of the portal as well. And I'll kind of cover all of those and where they link here as we go through things. One neat feature I'd like to point out at the top here, you will see there's actually the ability to select a language, and this is all done through using Google Translate. So if you use the drop down here, we do have the Spanish option available. So if I toggle that, you see Google will go through and automatically translate the information in the portal for us. To turn it off, it's as simple as using the little X here to turn off the Google Translate. And it is back to the native English language here. Next to that, you will see a little house icon. This will always bring you back to the home dashboard if you've traveled to another part of the portal, or an employee, I should say, has traveled to another part of the portal. They can always get home by using the home icon at the top of the left-hand navigation or the house icon here. Here is a drop-down, which is similar to what you would see on yours. They have the change company option, and this is if you have ever had an employee that has switched client IDs. So for example, you have multiple client IDs with Unique, and one employee has moved from a certain client ID to another, and they still want to be able to access their past information, their past checks. They would have a drop down here under change company, and they could select their current one, which would be listed here, as well as any past one they have listed here as well. And they could toggle through that, select the one they want, and click OK, and it will take them to the dashboard for that specific one. They also do have a contact information here. This is going to be different from the client portal, whereas this will actually be internal information for your company here. Then on the very far right-hand side, it's similar to the client portal as well. The employees will have the ability to change their settings and, again, opt in for text verification alerts, email alerts. They can update their email here, change their password for their login, and update their security questions for when they are logging in. If they make any changes here, they would, of course, have to hit the save button here. Other options on the drop-down here are to log out and to view the disclaimer. One more thing that they can do, similar to in the client portal, is search via the search bar here at the top of the left-hand navigation menu. So if they start wanting to look for their check stub or anything like that, they could start typing in here what they're looking for, and it will pop up, and they'll be able to navigate directly there via the search menu. Now I do want to touch on each one of these on the dashboard, the different pieces of information here. This is the demo employee, so it has the full suite of features turned on. However, if, for example, you do not track PTO with us and you're not going to use the PTO request feature, stuff like the time off section here and the time off calendar would not be enabled. So the employee will only see relevant pieces of information here for them. To start things off on these sections, there is the unique HR news and the demo client news. These are sections in which we can put information out directly to the employee. So if something needs to be announced from unique HR directly to employees, we can do that and post it here. If you, as a client, want to put anything out to your employees and have it be shown in their portal, you can post that to the demo client news section, which you do have access to in your client level login. Below that, there is the My Profile section, which this, again, will correlate to another section up here in the payroll information, so we're not going to click on it just yet, but it will take you to a section in the payroll information. The My Benefits section, again, will take you to a different section under the e-benefits here. And then there is the My Payrolls section, which, again, these all correlate to the different sections here. You'll see checks, year-to-date, W-2. Those all show here as well. These are just kind of quicker ways to get there straight from the dashboard if they like. There is a quick links section here that has documents that you can click on, as well as events, which, again, we will look at this in a moment via the left-hand navigation menu. But the two most important parts I want to point out from the dashboard here are going to be the My Pay section and the My Change Request section. So first, to cover the My Pay section, you'll notice there is a toggle to which they can hide their pay if they so choose. An example of them wanting to have this on would be maybe if they're using a shared computer and they don't want somebody to see their pay, they can just leave this toggled on so they don't have to worry about that showing. If they toggle it off, of course, it will show their pay information. And while I will show you the check stubs section here in a little bit, I want to point out that they can directly access that via the dashboard here by double clicking on the check that they want to view, and it will pop up for them as a check stub. And the reason I wanted to point that out is because oftentimes when an employee is logging into their portal, they're doing it to check their paychecks. So it is readily available for them to check. And if they want to view more than just their 3 most recent, they could click the View All, and it would take them to the full check history. The other important section I wanted to touch on here is the My Change Request section. And you'll see there are a couple already existing here. This is where an employee can go to make any important requests to change information. So examples of the request would be direct deposit. They can make a request to change that here. Their federal W-4, their state W-4 if that applies to them. And they can also request a pay card in this section. And actually, I do want to show you, if you request a pay card, you select go. It's as simple as reading the sentence. And if they want to go ahead and submit the request, they can click submit down here on the bottom right. Lastly, I do want to touch on the time off sections over here, which this will of course show you or show them all of their time off information. There is an option to view future balance here. And then there is also a time off calendar down here, which it will show just all of the employees' time offs on a big calendar. Again, that is an optional feature that can be turned on. It is a global feature that will show all employees. So if you don't want employees seeing each other's time off requests, then that would be something that we would turn off. But that's the dashboard at a glance. And now I do want to do a quick run through of all of the different sections over here on the left-hand side. And we're going to start with the My Payroll information. Here we're going to kind of just go one by one through the tabs very briefly and show you what they can access. You'll notice it does look similar to what you can see as a client, but with quite a few less tabs to select from. So of course, the employees can see their own information here. They do have an edit button that they can click, but it is very limited in terms of what they can adjust here. They can adjust the address, information, their nickname, and their contact info over here. If they do make any changes, again, they just want to make sure that they click the Save button down here at the bottom right. Next is the tax setup window here. And again, this will allow them to view their current filing status and information. If they click on it down here, it will display the information on the right. However, if they do need to update it, again, that will need to be done through the change request section there. And you will see there are different tabs for each different kind of tax. State and local are included as well if they apply to you and your employees. Their direct deposit section will be similar to the tax setup, where they can view their direct deposit if they have one set up here. They would click on here and the information display on the right. However, again, if they want to change their direct deposit, that is done through the change request section, which is accessible either here on the left-hand side or the dashboard, as we went over just a moment ago. I do want to take a little bit more of an in-depth look at the time off section here. Because there is a little bit more to see, and the employees will be interacting with this section more if you are tracking PTO and requests with us. The first tab is the plan summary tab. And here they will be able to see a basic glance at their information. You'll see the current balance shows 41.54 hours here, and I do want to explain why it's showing 21.54 here in just a moment. There are 12 hours scheduled, and there are 8 requested, and then 0 currently taken. If you hover over each one of these colored sections on the ring around the balance, you will see there are currently 12 hours scheduled and approved already. And then there are 8 more requested. So this remaining balance here shows you the current balance minus any that are already scheduled and or requested. We also have a neat tool, which if you've watched the client portion of this demo, it is the View Future Balance tool. The employees also have access to this, so they can, of course, request time off knowing exactly how much PTO they will have. This allows them to select a future date, and that way they can view what their PTO will be at that point in time. So we're going to look at March 4th here, and we're going to include requested, and I'm going to hit calculate. So first thing to note is the top line is the current balance and current information, and then as time goes on, it moves to the bottom, and the bottom line is the selected date here. The important column, of course, is going to be the balance here, and you'll see the balance decreases a little bit due to hours taken, and then it does start to increase again while there's no time off, as 1.54 accrues every week. But the very quick and simple easy way to do it is to just look at the balance column and go down to the bottom, and that will show them their balance as of the date they selected. It does have a lot more details if they want to get into the nitty gritty, and you can see it does allow them to put this information to Excel, CSV, and multiple other formats as well. Go ahead and close out of that. One thing I do want to point out, you'll notice that that was a pop-up window as well as the check stubs we viewed earlier. If they're having issues with those windows popping up, it is likely because they need to disable pop-up blocker for this website. And once they do that, they should have no issues with pop-up windows. Now I do want to jump to the requests section here. And this is where the employee can view any requests that they have, as well as make new requests. At the top, they have the option to filter between the different kinds of requests. Currently, it's showing scheduled, but they can toggle to pending, as well as completed, canceled, or denied. And they can also view all if they would like to. By default, it is typically on scheduled and or pending. Now, next to that on the left-hand side, you'll see there is a new request button. This is where they can come to make a new request. I will point out really quick when I jump back to the dashboard, there is a button here on the time off section that allows them to request time off. So if I were to click on that, it will do the same thing as if we were in the My Payroll Information time off section. So it is a quicker way for them to request time off from the dashboard, but that information does primarily exist from here. So if I want to make a new request, again, it can be done either via the dashboard or this window here. And I've already entered some dates for a demo request. There's 3 days they're requesting off. They would, let's see, let's go ahead and remove these and I'll show you from the beginning. They can select a date range via this button here, or they can enter individual date or dates. So I'm going to do a date range here, and I can enter the date range, and you can scroll through the calendar. Let's say we're looking for the 13th through the 15th of March off. You can click add dates, and then it does show you there, including the 8 hours per day. This is where they can leave a note of why they are requesting PTO, and once they do, they can simply click submit, and this request would be sent off to you as a client. The scheduled pay deductions, all of these tabs here, the dependents, beneficiary, events, and attachments, they're primarily going to be view-only sections in which they can click on information, but not really just anything. But they are available for the employee to go ahead and view. If, for example, I wanted to view the attachments there, I could click on the direct deposit and click view here. A big section of the portal, of course, is the check history. So I'm going to move down to that here. And this does provide a comprehensive check history for the employee. By default, it is set to the current year in which you are viewing it. So it is 2024, so that's what it's defaulted to. But they can toggle between previous years if they have an extensive history. We're going to leave it on 2024 here. And again, they can view the actual check stub itself via clicking on the little blue eyeball or double clicking on the line item here, and it will pop up for them in an actual check stub. Again, pop-up blocker might need to be disabled for any employees who are having trouble getting the pop-up to come up. Next is the year-to-date section here, and this is, of course, a year-to-date summary for the employee, and it defaults to the current year as well, but you can cycle between the other years just like the check history. Each one of these different pay types that is underlined, they are actually a clickable link, just like they are in the client portal. So if I were to click on bonus here, it will bring up any checks that included the earning bonus, and they can actually, again, be viewed as a check stub, either via double clicking or clicking the eyeball icon. This time I clicked the eyeball icon, and the check stub pops up, and you will see that bonus was indeed on this check stub here. So each one of these is clickable if they're looking for specific checks that had a certain earning on it. That can be seen. It is all summarized, of course, on this year-to-date page here, and the same can be done for deductions over here to where they can view any checks that have these deductions on them. Next is the W-2s and 1099 section. Of course, once they have any W-2s or 1099s processed by Unique, they will be available here. So this is something where early next year, they would be able to see their 2024 documents in this section here. Next is the actual documents section right here. It is currently set to filter to all files, but there is an option here to filter by different files. If they did electronic onboard, documents would be housed here as well. It is important to note that you do need to click on the drop down here. By default, it is collapsed. So if you're not seeing, or the employee is not seeing any documents, you do want to expand that option here and they can view the documents here. They can actually click on the document and they can view it. Again, it'll be a pop-up there to view the document. And they also have the option to download a document here. Next is the e-benefits section, which I'm going to briefly touch on. We will be offering benefit enrollments through this new portal the next time we have open enrollment. And before we do any of that and we get started, of course, we will reach out to you and contact you, provide training as well as documentation on how this process would work. So you will see more of that in the future here. They also have a life change event feature here in the portal in which they can enter if there's any life-changing events that would allow for enrollment, and they can toggle between the different type, enter the date, and upload any documentation that is necessary. And once again is the change request section here. There are the 4 options in which they can enter a change request for, which is direct deposit, federal W-4, state W-4, and request a pay card. I showed you the request a pay card briefly earlier through the dashboard. We'll look at the direct deposit here. And you'll see this demo employee doesn't currently have any. If they wanted to add one, they could click the blue plus button here and enter the information. Now, if they do enter a correct routing number for an actual bank, the bank name and bank city will auto-populate for them here. Once they make those changes and attach any documentation as necessary, they would click Done, which is a little save icon here, and it would be sent as a change request. And last but not least, on the left-hand side here is the time clock dropdown, which this is going to be primarily for any of you who use our third-party timekeeping system, Swipe Clock. This does have single sign-on with Swipe Clock, so if an employee needs to access their Swipe Clock portal to view their time cards, or maybe clock in if they have the web portal enabled, they can simply expand this option, click on the employee self-service. Again, there is a pop-up here and it takes them directly to their Swipe Clock profile. And of course, their Swipe Clock options will be dependent on your current setup here. But there is the time card and dashboard and multiple options available. So it's a very easy way for them to sign in to the timekeeping system here. And really that about wraps it up for a high-level overview of the employee portal. But before we go, I would like to touch on a couple more things. First is that we do plan on having a typed out guide that goes over everything we covered today regarding the employee portal. And we are going to have that uploaded to our landing page very soon. Also, please don't forget that we do have those several recordings of past webinar sessions for the client portal that go over various topics. If you want or need access to view these, please reach out again to the client relations email, which is clientrelations@uniquehr.com. They'll be able to provide you with access to that. And then last but not least, I would once again like to thank you all for joining us today. We truly appreciate y'all taking the time and making the effort to learn the system. So from everyone here at Unique, thank you, and y'all have a wonderful day.